Hey everybody. So I'm gonna give you a quick demo of how to rig a character in order to begin animating them. So this is a character that I made for our demos. You can find it in our canvas under files. It has a body, which is called cube right now. And it has an eye, which is called sphere right now. We could change the names, but I'll just leave them be. Also, to start with, let these go away. I have all of these modifiers attached to it, so I'm going to go ahead and apply them. So I'll click Apply and Apply in the same order that they were in. So now if I go in and edit this, you can see it just has the mesh. And then this is just a sphere, it doesn't have those. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually add an armature object. So I'll go ahead and go add armature. Boom, there we go. Okay, so in order to create our rigged character, we have to basically create a skeleton for it, and that's what this armature will be. What we see here is actually just one bone in the armature. So I can begin editing this armature by selecting it. And then up here where it says object mode, I can go edit mode. I also could do that with my mesh if I wanted to, rather than tabbing over to modeling. So I'll go select my bone and enter edit mode. And now I can grab either side of my bone. This is the end of the bone. And I can move it so you can see it changes size based on where it's moving. You don't need to worry about whether or not the bone is visible. In Unity, the bone will be invisible no matter what. So to start with, I want to have one bone be the root bone that will control the movement of the whole character all at once. We can also think of our armature kind of like a tree. Everything is connected to the root bone. The spine and the hips are attached to the root. The hips attach to the leg. The leg attaches to the shin and then to the foot and so on. So we'll have this be our root bone. So I'll go ahead and enter a sideways view. I'll grab my bone with the G key, click, place it, and now I can grab just one side of it and put my root bone in here. And it's a good idea to actually have the root bone sticking out the back of our character somehow. Right away we can see this is going to be kind of difficult to work with. Our bone is hidden when it's inside the mesh. So the best way to do that, to fix that, is to, in this menu over here, we'll go down and find our armature tab right here. And then I'll go viewport display, open this up, and then I should be able to find, uh-oh, am I wrong? In front, there we go. They changed the name of this, in front. So if I click in front, you can see it renders that bone in front of everything else no matter what. That allows me to actually edit it. So I also don't want the root bone to deform my mesh at all. Most of our bones, we do want it to deform our mesh, to change the shape of the mesh based on how it's moving. But in this one, we don't. So I have to select the bone tab and then uncheck deform for this bone. And I can actually go ahead and name this bone here. So by default, it's called bone. I'll change it to something descriptive like root. Okay. So now I can select the tip, the head of my bone, which is the pointy part. And it's important to get that right, so the pointy part is facing into your model. I'll grab that and I'll extrude, I guess, the head. I'll extrude out to here and then I'll go up like that. So now I have my head there. And then I want to extrude out here to where my leg will join in the hip. So it can be kind of annoying to try to place these joints accurately. A good way to do it is to turn on snapping. And then here under the options for snapping is volume and then center. So this will automatically snap to the center of the volume. So what do I mean by that? If I move it, say here, we can see it moved it to the center of the volume of this leg. I'll move it up a little bit so we can get it in the right spot. And then I can extrude down to where the knee is going to be. That looks good. And you can see it places it right in the center, down to where the ankle is, just like there. And it's important that you try to get these little balls where you actually want where you actually want that joint to be. So you have to think carefully about what part of the leg really does the knee bend around. And then I will extrude a new piece out, here. And again, I don't think I mentioned this, but I can pull things out by using the extrude tool, which I'm using by just pressing the E key, and then I'm moving my cursor. And so there's my foot. So that's a pretty typical kind of leg. If I really wanted to, I could create another bone for the heel if I wanted my foot to be able to kind of bend. But I'm going to keep it simple with this character and not do that. So I have these two bones in here that I don't actually want moving separately from each other at all. So I actually can select it and then press the X key to delete it. And you can see this dotted line means that this bone is still the child of this bone. So later when I'm posing this, if I move this, this bone is still connected. I'll do that with this bone as well. So now I have a leg and a head, which is basically all I want. I might even pull this head bone down a little bit so it's filling more of this space up. So I have one leg and I want to create another which is identical to it. So I can just select my whole leg by holding Shift and click, and then I can press Shift D to duplicate it, and you can see now I can move it around. And then I'll press X, not hold, just press it once, X, and now I'm moving along my constraint. So again, that was Shift D to duplicate, and then when I click, it places it, but I won't click quite yet. And then I press X to constrain it on the X axis, and then I can click to lock it into place. It still isn't symmetrical. To do that, I can scale by -1 across the X axis. So I'll just hit S to scale, X to lock it to the X axis, and then I'm typing -1. You can see it just flipped it right over. And that looks pretty good for our rig. But next, I also want to make sure that I actually have named all of my bones properly. So you can see here it says root 09 for the foot bone, which is really not what I want. I want to be able to see a list of all my bones and know immediately what they all are. So I'll let that clear out for a second there. I'll click on the head bone. I'll go here where it says root 02, and I'll just type in head. And then I'll select my right leg, and then I'll click here where you can't see. And there we go. And type leg right, leg R. And then I'll do the shin R, and then foot R. Oops, foot R. There we go. And I'll do the same for this other leg here. So that's the left leg, so I'll do leg L, shin L, and then foot L. And now all my bones are labeled. So that's it. We built our armature, but it still isn't connected to our mesh in any real way. So the next step here is to make the mesh a child of the armature. So I've gone back into object mode using this menu here. I also can use the tab key, which I'm doing quite often, to switch between edit mode and object mode. And so I'll just click my character and then shift click my armature. So my armature is the last one that was selected. And you'll see the armature is a slightly lighter orange color. And then I'll go objects, parent, and then with automatic weights. And so if we've made our armature well, this should automatically weight paint our model for us, which we'll learn about maybe in a little bit here. So I'll click with automatic weights. Again, that's object, parent, with automatic weights. So now I should be able to select my armature, and here, instead of edit mode, I'll select pose mode. And you can see now my selected bone is surrounded by this blue. And if I rotate a bone, it's moving the mesh to match it. And we are going to want to do some weight painting on this, it's looking like, which I'll do in the next video. But yeah. So that's kind of the first step. And you can see here's our root bone. So I can move the entire model by moving the root bone. Then the head moves independently, and so on. Cool. Okay, that's it for now.